Okay, welcome to our first experiment with flipped classroom learning. We're going to be talking about indirect objects tonight. First of all, what is an indirect object? We know that a direct object is the receiver of the action. So for example, he threw the ball. Who's receiving the action of the throwing? The ball. Well, the indirect object receives the direct object. So one thing you always have to remember is to have an indirect object, you have to have a direct object. Okay? So if there is no direct object, there cannot be an indirect object. Now what I mean by receives the direct object, so here's the example. He threw the football player the ball. We know that the ball is the direct object because he threw what? He threw the ball. But the question is, who receives that direct object? Okay, so your example, in this example, the answer would be the football player. Because there's your subject, he. The direct object is the ball. And who is receiving that direct object? The football player. Okay, so there's kind of a, I don't know if you want to call it a magical formula, but a formula for finding the indirect object, a very easy way. Okay, and it's subject plus verb plus direct object, and then ask yourself the question, to whom or what. So, for example, she sang Carrie the song. We know that our subject is she. The verb is sang. She sang what? Sang the song. To whom? Carrie. That's our indirect object. So, this would be your formula. She sang song to whom, and that is always going to give you your indirect object. Okay, so in these examples, you can go ahead and pause really quickly and see if you can figure out what the indirect object of the sentence is. Okay, so in the first one, we asked ourselves, subject, verb, direct object, to whom? So our subject is Mrs. Talbin, gave. The direct object is days. So Mrs. Talbin gave days to whom? Us. So our indirect object is us. The next one, the teacher gave what? Papers. That's our direct object. To whom? Students. So our indirect object is students. Tyler's mom made a cake. For whom? For him. That is our indirect object. The official gave what? Medals. To whom? Us. So that is your indirect object. So the next question we have to ask ourselves is, how do I diagram a sentence that has an indirect object in it? First, I diagram just like with anything else. Okay, so I have my normal line, and I diagram the subject and the verb. So in this example, she sang. Next, I'm going to find the direct object. She sang what? She sang the song. To whom? Carrie. Now, notice the indirect object goes on this line here, and this line is left blank. And it's always below the verb. So it's just kind of like a prepositional phrase, but without the preposition. Okay, so go ahead and pause, diagram these really quickly, and then we will look at the other slides to see if the examples, that you have done the examples correctly. Okay, so in this one, Emil was the subject, the direct object was postcard, and to whom it was sent to, it was to the brother. Next one, the officer gave a ticket to whom? The driver. So the sentence was, the police officer gave the driver the ticket. Okay, the angry baseball player threw the catcher of the ball. catcher is our indirect object. And the cashier handed Sarah cash. To whom was Sarah? So that is our indirect object. Okay, if you have any questions tomorrow, just write them down and we can talk about them. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you tomorrow.